How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Alice, Sweet Alice from 1976, directed by Alfred Sole, and also known as Communion, and briefly known as The Masked Murders, but primarily known as Alice, Sweet Alice. This movie's about a mother, Catherine, who, unfortunately for her, on Communion night, one of her daughters is murdered. Well, that's bad, but what's even worse is that her other daughter, Alice, from the title, is the prime suspect in these murders. Now, Alice is a creepy kid, one of the original creepy kids before the subgenre really took off and was everywhere, and you actually get to follow her throughout most of this movie. She's a really interesting character. She will go to places she's not supposed to, pull pranks, be mean, and get up to a lot of mischief. And of course this is a horror movie, so maybe she does a little more than that. And she's a really fun and interesting character to follow. And it's also really interesting because normally when you have a movie's protagonist, it's usually the good guy main character, and while you do see a lot from the mom, you get a lot from Alice, so you get a movie where you're following around a murder suspect for a large part of it. And this is 1976, a few years before Halloween, and a lot of people consider this a proto-slasher, and why that term doesn't always seem to fit all the pre-Halloween slashers, it really does for this one, because while you do get some really cool and interesting kills, a lot of the movie isn't so much about the kills, it's a lot of, can we accuse a young girl of murder? And you get some people who might secretly to themselves suspect that Alice really is the killer, but they can't because, it's a little kid, and then there's some people that really don't want to accept that, but are forced to move in that direction, going, we can't let her keep this up. And the killer in this movie, yellow raincoat, knife, and a semi-transparent mask with makeup painted on it. For being pre-Halloween, this is a really cool masked killer design. And they were able to get a lot of the stuff that would make the slasher genre so big really well before Halloween established so many of these rules. So I consider this a really good example of a proto-slasher and a really good example of getting things right before everything took off. You get a few of these, Chainsaw was actually pre-Halloween, so quite famously was Black Christmas, and this deserves to be talked about when we talk about the pre-Halloween slashers or the proto-slashers. Really good movie for slasher fans if you want to see some cool and interesting kills. It's also set in primarily in an apartment building in the city, so not quite in the woods where so many of them would take place. Overall, really good. There's one flaw. A lot of the characters are really interesting and kind of caricature-y. You get the landlord who's, ridiculously fat. And there's one character, polygraph administrator, that makes an out-of-the-blue, really creepy comment. But the characters are really interesting and developed, except for there's one character I didn't care particularly for, and due to the way the narrative shifts, there's a lot of her in the end, and I was really more invested in Alice and wanted to see more of her, and then it shifts to this other woman, and I'm like, I don't care so much about this character. But other than that, a really good early creepy kid, early slasher movie, and overall, I would definitely recommend this. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you next time. Oh, and the channel is growing pretty well, so a really quick thank you to anyone who's liked and subscribed. You guys are really helping me out. Thanks. I'll see you again next time. Have a good day.